Hey friends, we are Dave and Ashley Willis, hosts of the Naked Marriage Podcast and part of the team here at XO Marriage, and we have got some amazing guests in the studio today, and join us as we talk about the legacy and the future of marriage. Hey friends, welcome to our first ever XO Unscripted, and it is the first ever shoot we're doing in this brand new facility. This is just a dream come true. I mean, years and years of planning and praying, and we have got the founder of the ministry, Pastor Jimmy Evans, the man, the goat.
There he is.
There, I mean,
come on.
I can't believe I'm here.
I mean, it's just, we're going to have so much fun.
Yes.
We're celebrating Pastor Jimmy and Karen's 50th anniversary, 30th anniversary of XO Marriage. And we've got our friends, Jimmy and Irene Rollins.
Come on.
Probably our coolest friends. Everybody needs like at least one set of like legit cool friends that just by association, people think you're cooler. And I tell people I know you guys, and all of a sudden my cred goes up a little bit. You know, they're like, you know them? I'm like,
well, I'll tell people that you're my fashion consultant.
Oh, wow. Oh.
No, you don't want that.
It's the other way around.
I shop at Costco, man. You don't want you don't want my fashion tips. But we're thrilled you guys are here. A huge part of the team here at XO. We're going to talk about your 2 equals 1. We're going to talk about all that you're doing here at XO. And I'm telling you, like, we've gone to a new level with you guys.
Yeah.
We love being a part of it.
So honored to be a part.
So thank you. So this is unscripted. We're hanging out today. I want to start though with the man, the myth, the legend, Pastor Jimmy Evans, who, like, you know, none of this obviously would be happening without you. Jimmy, Karen, and Jesus are the reason.
That's right.
Come on.
Everything here has happened. And so how are you feeling right now? I mean, this has got to be just.
It's surreal. It really is. We've never had. We've had offices. Our original building was a casket company, and we had a mercy ministry. When I was pastoring in Amarillo, we started a mercy ministry. It was a 40,000 square foot building, but it was the Texas Coffin Company, and we rented it and then we bought it later on. But where they actually painted the caskets is where we produced our TV show.
Wow.
And it was in a terrible part of town. We tried to get a studio audience, but people were afraid to come. One couple came, they got shot at on the way over there. They really did. So it was, but we had a train track by the door, right by the wall of where the studio was. And so we would be recording TV and we'd have to stop because the train coming. Is there a train coming?
Oh my God.
But it was humble beginnings, to say the least. But you know, when we started, we just didn't know anything. We really, the first 5 years were just a series of mistakes, honestly. But you know, we were starting, and the Lord was gracious, and we started small. You know, I say God allows you to make your big mistakes in a little room, and when you're finished, He opens the door. Wow. And so you know, and it's a merciful thing. So we made our big mistakes in a little room, and then we just grew a little bit at a time. But but to sit here right now, having been through the journey we've been on, it's amazing. First of all, it's amazing to be at a place like this. But secondly, it's amazing to have our own building in such a wonderful location. Really where people can fly in from all over the world. We're 5 minutes from DFW Airport. And we across the street from a wonderful hotel, the people love to stay at. So it's just, God had this place in mind. Wow. Back when we didn't know, He had this place in mind. And so I just feel like we're where God put us. But it is hard to believe because it's surreal. It's the ideal place for what we do.
I love
really
it.
Is.
And talk about legacy. I mean, that's the theme kind of this first episode of Unscripted today. And I mean, what a legacy. We actually celebrated your and Karen's 50th wedding anniversary last night.
Huge celebration.
You don't look old enough.
No, you really don't. I mean, seriously, that is the truth. But I mean, just hearing the stories from lives that have been touched by both of you and what you have done in this ministry, and we're some of those people.
Yeah.
And I know that you guys are some of those people. It's just the coolest thing. And I've shared this before, but I haven't shared it recently. But I wanted to remind you, Jimmy, that the first time we came across you and Karen was when I was actually at my lowest point in my life. Wow. And I was going through a terrible bout with anxiety and depression that had gone on for years. And I often, in the night when it would hit me and I'd be having panic attacks, I would turn on Christian television. And you guys were always, it was like you were one of those shows that I would always watch the whole
Wow.
show.
Wow.
And you just brought me hope. I mean,
Wow.
you brought me hope and you met me right where I was. I think your authenticity was something that always made people like me lean in
Right.
and just give me hope for the next day. And to think that all these years later, you know, we joined the team about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
What a full circle moment.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know that our story is like the stories of so many other people that what you guys have done and how God has used you has touched people all over the world. And I know that Dave and I and our whole family, we're just so grateful to have been some of those people and to be alongside you now being part of this incredible team.
Grateful doesn't even.
Yeah,
sum
it doesn't.
up. I mean,
It sounds, yeah.
You know,
doesn't capture
we
it.
started doing, when you do television, you don't know who you're reaching.
Right.
You know, you're
yeah.
looking in a camera. And I was sitting in an airport one day. We'd probably been on TV, you know, for 5 or 10 years at this point. And I was sitting in an airport one day flying somewhere, and this bad-looking guy started staring at me. And you know when someone's staring at you.
Yeah.
So after a little while, I just looked at him and said, "How are you?" And he said, "You're that marriage guy on TV." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm third generation drug cartel." And he said, "Every man in my family beats his wife." And he said, "We have a violent family, and all the men beat their wives." And he said, "I'm the only man in my family that doesn't beat his wife."
Wow.
And he said, "I got out of the drug cartel business." And he said, "We have 3 daughters." And he said, "Every Sunday morning, we all get in front of the TV, and you teach us how to be a family."
Oh my goodness. That's
I mean,
It's
Jimmy,
amazing.
It's
I mean, just
amazing.
the generations that are forever different.
Yes.
Because of you said yes to God, and you and Karen have walked in that faithfulness. I mean,
Yes.
there's no way to quantify it. There's just no way. 1,000 years from now, the world is going to look so different because of the seeds you've planted. And thank you.
But just
thank
knowing that you're touching lives. But the thing that Brent said last night at the celebration was, we want to leave an army behind, and that's who you guys are. You know, Karen and I, you know, for us to, when our taillights bob down the street one day, you know, you guys will take our place. And that's just
So honored, Pastor Jimmy, to be a part of this incredible movement and legacy. The first time I ever laid eyes on you and Pastor Karen, we were at home watching Christian TV with a little one in full-time ministry. Had left 6-figure salaries for like under 30,000 with a
That's
family.
ministry. Small rooms.
Yes.
Messing up in small rooms.
Yeah, messing up in small rooms. And we just didn't know what we were doing with marriage. And just to look at the screen and to hear your authenticity about your own story, your own journey, and then how it was similar to my husband. And I was like, wait a minute. And then Pastor Karen was just sharing how it had impacted her emotionally, and how you guys navigated the nuances of growth past that moment in time when you thought it was just the end of the world, or you almost awakened this thing in my mind that it doesn't have to be misery doesn't have to be a life sentence.
That's right.
Wow.
Misery in a marriage.
Yeah.
And we could say these things out loud, that we're not happy, that we're like, I think you're too loud when you talk to me.
I feel attacked.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but that was real. That was that moment.
Sure.
Because I had PTSD. I didn't realize that how he spoke to me impacted me greatly. And the enemy's strategy was to cause division. And so to see your authenticity, I'm so grateful. Thank you for being so open. It taught us that we had permission to feel, to be human, and to seek the Lord for this transformation.
Well, see, y'all, what makes all of you guys so effective is you're so open and so vulnerable. You know, Jesus, when he was resurrected, he came and showed off his scars. And he said, "Come touch me. I've got scars." So our scars heal. Yes. You know, redeemed scars heal. And, you know, you just can't, without scars, there's no redemption.
Yes.
And so when you show your scars off.
Yeah.
And I think that with Karen and me, if there's a reason that God chose us, it's because we were willing to be vulnerable. You know, because we didn't know a lot more than anybody else knew, but we had been through what we'd been through, and I think that's what is attractive to people, like to you guys, is that you get up, you tell your stories, and you know, Ashley, you were talking in Scottsdale about the depression that you'd been through. There's so many people that go through that, and if you don't talk about it, how can they get help?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm proud of you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just blown away just at this weekend, and just you know, seeing all the people come and celebrate, and hearing your story, and just hearing the stories of all the people that have been touched by XO, by you and Karen's testimony. You know, that word testimony, it means do it again. And I love, because every time we're authentic, every time we share our story, I believe that we empower people that God can do it again in their lives.
That's right.
And I think legacy is really being a part of something and doing something that outlives you.
That's right.
And I want to thank you for saying yes. I want to thank you for saying the hard things, for being a voice. I grew up with my parents being pastors, and I didn't have, they're my parents. And you pastored me from afar.
Good.
And I'll never forget, over 15 years ago, sitting in a room by myself. The room was packed, but I felt alone. The room was full, but I was empty. And I was contemplating divorce and leaving the ministry and asking God, was I still useful? And you preached the message. And it wasn't even a marriage conference. And afterwards, there was a marriage today table. And I walked by it, and a guy said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Can I get your phone number?" And he followed up with me. And that was an extension of you. And I am so glad that day gave me the power to do the work. We like to say it this way. You're not allowed to complain about a marriage that you refuse to work on.
That's right.
And you've taught us that. And I just wanted to say thank you for the legacy.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the strength. Thank you for the hours of study, the warfare, what your family has gone through to produce this. It's worth it for our kids. My son gets to see an African-American male as a father stick it out and work through with his mom in a way that he can have a legacy of health and wholeness and oneness. It's powerful. I'm grateful.
So good.
It's powerful.
Thank you.
It's powerful. Yeah, well.
I'm sure over these days you have been looking back a lot. You and Karen sharing stories, thinking about memories. Like if you look at the timeline of these last 30 years, what are some of those kind of milestone markers that stand out to you as turning points or funny moments, or just what are those memories that kind of rise to the top as you think about it?
Brent asked me to share with the staff one day about, kind of the milestone moments of the ministry and everything. I think I cried for about an hour. But it was war. When we started the ministry, it was just war. And the devil obviously didn't like what we were doing. And all hell broke loose on every level. And we got so discouraged. And the breakthrough moments were, like we were talking about the kids, hearing the voices of the little kids. Because, I just felt, I told somebody, I had dignity before this ministry, because it was just so humiliating to go through. We were broke. And we were shutting down one time. Literally, we were shutting our ministry down. And I was relieved. And I just thought, it's just too hard. If this was God, it wouldn't be this hard, is what I thought. And so Karen's dad came to me one day and he said, "Do you want to shut the ministry down?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "It's too hard." And I said, "There's something wrong with us." I said, "There's just, people don't want to give to us. It's just everything we do is just 10 times harder than it should be." And he told me a story about his business, because he's a wealthy guy. They'd never given us a nickel. And he said, "I was standing in the airport in St. Louis, and I had 70 cents in my pocket after I bought my ticket home." And he said, "I'd failed in business. I was going home to tell Karen's mom that I was going to have to shut down my business and go to work for somebody or something." He said, and I got home, and I got a call from a guy that I just called on, and he became my first customer. And that's how my business worked. And he said, "Well, I want to give you $2 million.
It's a good day.
My God in heaven.
It's a good day.
When you're faithful in the little things, God opens bigger doors. And you were so faithful in those in the little rooms. You were faithful in those every moment that God gave you. And when the time was right, and you passed every test, it's like He just kept opening bigger doors. And your life and your legacy and your ministry, it's such a testament to how God wants to bless His faithful servants.
And I don't want, whatever we went through, I don't want the next generation to go through. Because people didn't talk about marriage. When we started doing it, churches didn't talk about marriage. There weren't marriage conferences. And we started to do the simulcast, and churches started having marriage conferences and things like that. And a lot of churches still don't talk about marriage, but more do. And we want there to be a generation where marriage is spoken about honestly. Like there's hope. People are seeing African American fathers and mothers together. They're seeing fathers and mothers together and working through depression, working through all the issues we have. And it gives them hope. We went through hell. We really did. But it was worth it.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like for all of us, we have fewer scars because of the arrows you took.
Good.
And we could never thank you enough for that.
Well, this ministry has just begun. That's the way I feel, and it just gives me so much joy. You guys.
What's your dream for the future? Because I mean, this isn't at all a finish line. This is just getting started. What do you want the next 30 years to be?
Change. It's not about fun and games. It's about within 10 minutes of this building, there's so much suffering we can't even imagine.
Right.
And I want to change that.
Yeah.
And the suffering comes from broken marriages. When people aren't married, or when the marriage breaks up, everybody suffers. Men suffer, women suffer, kids suffer. And when I woke up those 3 mornings back in 1993 and I had the vision for this ministry, it was to change America. We would sit in our all the staff in my little office, and we would sit in the office and I'd say, we'll change America. The divorce rate will drop, the marriage rate will increase, children will be together with their parents, we'll see the culture change. Because that's what I believe. I don't believe that this is a ministry of just kind of swirling the stuff around and leaving things the same. I want to change culture. I want to change every culture. See, that marriage is the #1 felt need all over the world.
That's it.
And marriage is under attack all over the world, like never before. And I believe from here, we will change America. We will see a revival of marriage like never before. And it's just like the Jesus Revolution movie that's out right now. Just when you thought there was no hope, here come a bunch of hippies. And it changes America. It changed a generation. And so what I believe now is when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit will just when you think it's a Rocky movie, and just when you think you can't get back up, God is going to raise the standard. But it's I think that from here, it's just such a wonderful day to be sitting here. And so
it's great.
Man, our hearts are full.
So full.
I think there's a innovation company in the Silicon Valley, and they have this mission statement. And the mission statement is nothing is successful unless it fails 4 times.
Wow.
And I feel like the power of marriage and what God wants to do in our country, what God wants to do in the world, is there's a lot of people failing. And there's a lot of, attack against biblical marriage. There's an attack against the kingdom of God coming, the kingdom of heaven coming to earth. And I think that if we look around, it would be easy to be discouraged on, what marriage is and what marriage, but I think we got some hope because if that mission statement be true, right, it's time for us to see God raise this standard of godly marriage up because of the failure that we look around. And so people are like, well, is there hope for marriage? There is hope for marriage.
You bet there is.
Right? Because where there's darkness, only light can shine.
That's right.
And what we're excited about is being a part of this journey, this legacy, this, making the room bigger. We feel like we're still in small rooms, right? Yeah. But we get an opportunity to build on the legacy that y'all have started. And I what I'm excited about is revival in homes. Yeah. Yes. Right? Revival in homes. We want revival to happen in churches. Yeah. But it's going to happen in homes first.
That's right.
And if we can build that up and our kids can have confidence and they can sit around a table and see a healthy marriage, people finding out their marriage equation, that failure and death does not have the last word. That's what happened on the resurrection. Jesus redefined what death and failure looks like.
That's right.
And so I believe that we can have success because we see failure.
So good.
Yeah. And we have a team now, and you guys representing our speaking team. When we did our conferences, I was the only speaker. I would speak 10 to 12 times, back to back, in conferences. That's when I was young. And Brent came to me and said, Dad, why don't we have conferences and have other speakers other than you? And I said, please. And then you guys, I think you were the first ones that came along. But y'all are so funny. All of you are just hilarious to listen to. And this is what I feel about myself, is when I'm speaking, I want to say powerful things, but I want it to be fun.
Absolutely.
You know, I just don't want to sit there and hammer people like that. Y'all are all so funny, and that's what people love. It makes it desirable, you know, to sit there and listen to something that's penetrating your soul.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, but we have a team for the first time, and again, that gives me hope, because and it'll just continue to grow. But y'all are the first team, and so y'all have got tremendous insights into, because you all have your own scars, but at the same time you have a gift, and you're tremendous communicators. And see, Karen. And she would say this of herself. She doesn't like speaking, and what she did on the TV show, we never rehearsed anything on the TV show. Is we would have a teaching segment, and then we would sit down and we just start talking.
Just talk.
And that's what she's good at. Is talking. But you guys are such great communicators together, which is very unusual. We've had one message together in our entire marriage. Wow. And it wasn't worth it. The tension.
We all know that weight, huh?
We know that
Yeah.
tension.
But your marriage is the message.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's right.
Like being able to just be comfortable. Karen like spoke to me, her life spoke to me as a pastor's wife coming in. I grew up Catholic. Fell in love with this guy overnight, and I'm like,
but I understand.
yeah, no.
I did too.
You were so crazy. But like I had no idea what this whole ministry thing was going to look like. So she helped me understand that I could be comfortable in my own skin.
Right.
And like I literally used to have panic attacks thinking about ever holding a mic, right? And to see the transformation, what God has done in my life today, it's because I just sat comfortably in who God created me to be, and gave myself permission to just be the best version of myself. So I'm grateful to Karen for just being the standard in the sense of just being comfortable in her own skin and saying, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want, and I'm not going to be up there with you, but I'll have the conversations in the TV studio. Like, thank you. Thank you for being true to you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Because we all have that different calling. And I just want to say, Karen is hilarious.
Yeah,
Like,
she is.
Karen's
so
great.
full of wisdom, but she makes me laugh. Like, I love it when I get to be around you guys. And even on the podcast, like on the Marriage Today podcast, I mean, it's just so good. Like, and all the
She's a
TV
treasure.
shows,
I mean,
really a treasure. And,
great.
and like you said, sweetie, like the marriage and your whole family.
Yeah.
That's just watching you all. Like, I want to say this, you know, you've been on TV for a long time, like you, and then now online. And you know, you're larger than life, people watching, you're so wise. And a lot of times these people that are giving all of these amazing messages and speaking the word, people can hold them on a pedestal. And then when you get closer, it's a big letdown. But I just want to say with you and your family, it's not that way. You are exactly the person that you are presenting on TV and living that life for Christ. And to us, it's just so...
It's such a gift to see.
It's such a gift.
We've
And
learned more
it's-
from you
Yes,
behind
yes.
the scenes, just watching you interact with your family and watching how you lead and love in your faith.
And the authenticity, the
Yes.
vulnerability.
Yeah.
And it's just, it really is. And I think too, it challenges us to always keep it real, to always be authentic, and just really, it all comes down to following Jesus and all this.
I've been around preachers. Y'all been around preachers, and a bunch of high-powered preachers. And I have several pastors that have impacted me the most, and they were the most real.
Yes.
It's great.
And the ones that just turn me completely off are the ones that are on, and then they're behind the scenes are monsters.
Exactly.
And-
Exactly.
But you know, Jack Hayford was one of those, and for me, and there's others, but they were just so real, and that's my goal. And the other thing too is, I just don't see myself as a big deal. I see myself as someone, God could have taken me out 1,000 times. You know what I'm saying? I'm just here by the grace of Jesus.
Right.
But I'm just so grateful just to be a part of something that's making a difference.
Exactly.
And honestly, you know, Karen and I are very private people. If I were not in the ministry, I would be, I'd be happy just never to be known. People say, when people see you on the street and recognize you, are you happy about it? And I say, no, I'd really rather not be known, but I'm glad that all the money that we've spent has reached somebody. That's the way I think. It's more of a financial thing than
Right.
But anyway.
Well, it's just evidence that you've reached, God's worked through you to reach people, and you made yourself available. You said yes to Him, and man, He's done huge things. I loved it. Before we wrap this up, like, talk to us a minute just about why marriage matters. Like why it matters in the culture, why it matters in the church. Because as you shared with us, publicly and behind the scenes, people are losing sight of that. People are losing sight of why it's important to be married. Churches, sometimes aren't as focused on it. And a real legacy of your ministry is just raising the importance and the prominence of it for God's plan for it in a world that seems to have just forgotten that. And so I'd hate to have this conversation without giving you a chance to just talk about your passion for marriage and why we should all have a passion for marriage.
Well, you go to Genesis 1, where everything started, and it says, first of all, God created the heavens and the earth. That's very controversial.
Yeah.
It says God made them male and female. That's very controversial. And He created marriage. And He looked at Adam and said, it's not good that man's alone. And so marriage is the first institution that God ever created on purpose. God laid the foundation of society of marriage, of man and a woman. And the fall of man we call Genesis 3. Remember, Adam was on the earth a long time without Eve. And we know that because some people say he was on the earth 10 or 20 years or longer, because he named all the animals of the earth. Well, that's going to take a while. But as soon as Eve was created, Satan attacked.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, Satan had no interest in Adam. Adam was not, because God said he can't fulfill his destiny without a helpmate. And so as soon as Eve was created, Satan attacked. And so marriage, his arch enemy. And one of the reasons I say it is because, see, in Genesis 1, God said, let us make man in our image. And God said Elohim. The I am suffix on a Hebrew word means masculine plural. It's a group of men. And in that case, it was God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit conversing and saying, let's make someone in our image. Okay, so how does a triune God make someone in His image? He created a Christ-like male, a Holy Spirit-like female, with God in the middle of it.
Wow.
And so marriage is a triune relationship that's an exact image of God. So when Satan sees you guys and sees Karen and I, he sees God, because it's Father, Son, it's the image. It's a triune relationship that has God in the middle of it. Well, what he wants is to destroy the image of God. So since Genesis chapter 3, remember Genesis chapter 3, he attacked marriage. Genesis chapter 6 is where it says God regretted he'd make man on the earth. Once he has marriage, it's game, set, and match. See, all Satan is interested in is to destroy marriage. See, marriage is the foundational institution in society, and upon that institution rest children, the financial sector, the educational sector, the spiritual sector. Churches, if you're going to build a church, you're going to build it on healthy families. Right. Yeah. You're not going to build it on unhealthy families. And so Satan understands if he can destroy marriage, he can destroy all of society. So you go back in world history, there's a book called Family and Civilization that was released in 1947 from Harvard University, a man named Carl Zimmerman, who's a sociologist. And he proves in world history, every single time a great society has risen, it's risen on the foundation of strong biblical marriages, even if they weren't biblical people. It is strong, a biblical role model. But every single time, Rome, Greece, Samaria, Egypt, Babylon, every time a great society has fallen, the first thing that happens is marriage loses its sacredness. That's what happens. Satan always goes after marriage first. Yeah. So in America, this was 1947. Carl Zimmerman was warning America, saying, you're liberalizing your family laws. And we were. Back in 1940, if you look back and think those were the good times. Well, there were schools of thought at that time that were infiltrating public policy making, and they were beginning to change policies related to divorce, children, all those kind of things. Well, today we're living in the aftermath of that. Yeah. Wow. He warned us in 1947 it was happening. So Satan's playbook has never changed. So here's the point. If Satan's playbook is, if he's going to destroy a society, he destroys marriage. Well, God's playbook is, if he's going to rebuild it, he's going to rebuild marriage. Exactly.
That's great.
And so what we're doing in this ministry is we're relaying a foundation. Children have no future without marriage. Raising children, there's some great single parents out there, but children need marriage. Barack Obama said that when he was president. He said children need marriage. Children do better when there's marriage. And so what we're doing is giving people hope to be married and to stay married so that their children and their grandchildren have a legacy of marriage. And upon that, an entire society changes. So and what frustrates me the most is when churches won't talk about marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand that this is something the Lord has put in me, but my desire is, as society changes, that the church changes, and we start talking about marriage. And y'all been with me in settings and where I'm talking to pastors about marriage, and when we do, they'll come up to me and they'll say, "I feel so convicted. We have nothing in our church for marriage."
Wow.
Right.
But the good news is now they're beginning to get it, and they start talking about marriage. But every great church in America that I know of is a marriage building church. And every church that I know of in America that's in demise won't talk about marriage.
Right.
And so I think it's, except for the gospel, marriage is the most important message. And I've said that all over the world. And so I absolutely believe it. In the church that we had in Amarillo, that this ministry started in, we started with 900 members and grew to 10,000. And our marriage ministry was just the heart and soul of everything that we did. And I didn't even realize what I was doing. I had no idea of the unintended consequences of building marriage. But as you're building marriage, you're building leaders. We have strong leaders in Amarillo. You're building the marriages, you're building the children, and that legacy. So I've done this, and I've done it for a long time, not just marriage, but also pastoring and building marriages. And what you see is every good thing happens when you focus on marriage.
It's great.
When you don't focus on marriage, every bad thing happens. Everything that God does, beginning in Genesis 1, he does through marriage. Everything the devil does, he does by destroying the foundation of marriage. And today you have, in our society, marriage is just so toxic. That in fact, a lot of people, 70% of young men under 29 years old are single for the first time in American history.
Wow.
And it's horrific. But we can change that generation. They have the desire for marriage. They just don't have the hope. They don't have the skills. Yeah. And so I just think that marriage, to me, is every single thing in a society. And what we do here, and by the way, that we know of, this new building that we're dedicating right now is the only building in America with the word marriage on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing.
You know, as we're sitting in this building, Jimmy and Irene, why do you think it's important that we have a building that is devoted to helping people have stronger marriages?
I think as Pastor Jimmy just talked about, and God created mankind, we have this thought of be fruitful, multiply, subdue, and have dominion. And I think in our Christian faith, the ultimate thing is that we have dominion, that heaven come to earth. Heaven's not just a place we go to when we die. We can have heaven today. Yeah. And the mechanism, if you will, the incubator of that is marriage. You can't be fruitful by yourself. You can't multiply by yourself. It's kind of like DoorDash, Dave. I don't know about you. I love DoorDash. But DoorDash is just a delivery system that takes good food and delivers a product to the people.
But the one who delivers it, you want to kiss them and bless them. You do. Because they're just the message. But they've done their job and they've blessed you because of it.
Absolutely.
I just want to be the DoorDash of marriage. I just want to. Here's the message. I want to help deliver it.
But I honestly believe that marriage is that delivery system. It's the delivery system that brings the kingdom of heaven to the kingdom of earth. And I've ordered DoorDash before, and the driver broke down. The driver got lost. There was dysfunction in the delivery system. And I think if we realize the power of marriage, that we can deliver peace that is in heaven to peace on earth, that we can deliver unity that is in heaven to unity on earth. Psalms 133, how good and pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity. Yep. Marriage, I believe, is the truest form of heavenly unity. And God, when we do that, Psalms 133 says that we have the anointing to command a blessing. And I believe that this is the delivery, the DoorDash of dominion. Come on, somebody.
I love it.
There you go.
That we can deliver
I agree with that.
to earth.
I agree with that.
When I think about this, when I think about marriage, right, and everything you're saying, we get to be the reflection of the gospel. Yes. What you were saying. So if the gospel is the very first message is what I heard you say that's most important, marriage is just simply the reflection of it.
Oh, that's great.
Because I think about our story and our journey, and it's like I learned about the redemptive power of Jesus Christ, the love, unconditional love of Jesus Christ through the way you love me.
Wow.
You know, it wasn't a church service. It wasn't some other experience. All of those things were good and a part of leading me on my journey, but it was your love that demonstrated that you canceled this assignment of the enemy in my own mind that was trying to tell me that I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. I'm inherently worthy of love. And because of my yuck, that my addiction, all of those things, my PTSD, my trauma, that you loved me through, you have now given our children and the next generation hope that, oh my gosh, marriage does work.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Jesus is real. How about remember my book launch? My daughter said, my 22-year-old daughter got up and testified that she grew up in church with an amazing pastor as her dad, but it was when she saw you love me through my recovery and my addiction that she saw Jesus was real to her for the first time.
Wow.
So powerful.
Like, that blew me away. And it's like, so we get to be a part of that reflection. It's that unity. It's that demonstration to the next generation.
Yes.
And I think that's what this place is all about.
Yeah.
Is we're going to build the kingdom of God through building healthy marriages.
Right.
And we get to do it together.
Yeah.
Wow.
What an adventure we get to do.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
love that.
we were just talking about that.
Real.
It is surreal, and it keeps you on your toes too. Like when
Yeah.
you're actually working to help other people's marriages, you bet.
Yeah.
You know,
You gotta
we're
keep it
always
together.
working on our
Yeah.
marriage too.
Yeah.
But I love what you said about it being a reflection of Christ and Christ in the church. You know, it's very explicit in the Bible, or specific about it. It says like this is what marriage is. It reflects Christ in the church, which is a very high calling on us as married people.
Yeah.
And I see what you're saying about kids watching, like that is such a comfort to children, just even seeing you work through your stuff, because we're not perfect.
No.
But them seeing like, oh my goodness, they're not giving up on each other.
It's great.
Like, yeah, they're having a bad day, and we're human beings, we're gonna have a bad day, but mom and dad are gonna fight through this for each other,
Yeah.
not against each other, because God is helping them along the way. And I do think that is such a reflection of what God actually does, like right before their very eyes. And I think that, Jimmy touched on this earlier, one reason why we're seeing less and less people get married is because I think maybe at home they never saw that,
Yeah.
because
Right.
their own parents didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do. They felt like it was just too overwhelming, and they just, they ended up maybe divorcing or maybe having a loveless marriage. So even though their parents were married, it was just this cavernous, cold place where they never really saw that love between them, and maybe not even that fighting for each other. And I think there's that, but I also think there's such a fear in getting it wrong. Like we talk to a lot of single people where they don't have those examples, but also just it's like this daunting,
That's a big
can I
deal.
even do
That's
this?
a big
You
deal.
know,
It's
it's
real.
such a huge thing. And I love it. There is a building here that's not only for people whose marriages are in crisis, we definitely are that. We have our XO mediators who can help, and all the content that's developed here, but also for people whose marriages are good and they want to take it to that next level.
great. Yeah, it's great.
But one thing I love is that XO, we're going to be reaching those people who are just wanting to date and get it right and then get engaged and learn how to be married. Marriage Today, XO Marriage exists, and this building exists to meet people right where they are at all the different seasons of life. And I love that at this building, they can come, they can experience that, or whatever's going to be developed here, they can experience online. And I think there's just something so special about an actual standing building that is declaring that for the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I pray, because, someone asked me did I see this building when I had the original vision. I didn't. That what I saw was that we made a difference. The marriage, a biblical message of marriage that was very loving and gracious, but we made a difference. One of the things I pray for is that we will have a ministry one day that specifically goes after young people dating and looking to be married.
Yes.
Because the two things that are killing marriage right now for young people are dating apps and pornography.
Yes.
And you have, the young men out there that are basically getting all their needs met, that they think they're getting their needs met. But then also when we have a date and you say something I don't like, I just go back on the dating app and start shopping around. And so in my generation, we had nothing. We just had to deal with the people in front of us. we didn't have any other choices. But today, it's really killing marriage. But see, they have this need. God made us to need marriage. So most people, over 90% of people say they want to be married for a lifetime. They just don't know how.
Right.
And that young generation is the most relationally ignorant generation in the history of the world. And literally, because there's never been a generation that, like ours, deceived so much by the internet and everything on there. So I really do pray that there will be a movement among the young people before marriage to get them, to train them how to date, how to view the opposite sex, how to believe, how to get off the pornography and all those stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with dating apps necessarily, but they become a shopping center for relationships.
Yes.
Rather than knowing, even if this is God's perfect person, even if this is my soulmate that I'm about to marry, we're going to have issues that we're going to have to deal with. So I really do believe that this building represents the future.
Yes.
And just like we've seen this ministry grow in 30 years, it's going to exponentially grow in the future.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm so excited to see what the next 30 years
Yeah.
holds.
Oh my
And
goodness.
friends, listen, we want to thank you for taking the time to watch and listen to this. And I'm going to give you a few challenges as we go. Number one, go to xomarriage.com and check out the many, many resources that are there. We have so many resources available. And if you need help for your marriage, Ashley mentioned our mediators earlier. It's one of the most powerful aspects of this ministry. We have a team that's available to meet with you here in person at the headquarters or by phone or Zoom to make it where you don't even have to leave your home. You can go to xomarriage.com/help and get all the information about that. I also want to encourage you to check out the 2=1 podcast with our dear friends, the Rollins. It is pure gold. And if you're not following them on social media, you're missing out. So follow them. And I also, if you really want to grow in your marriage, then I want you to do something that I do often. And that's just go to YouTube and search for Jimmy Evans and start watching what you see. Because there's so much rich teaching through the years of just this absolutely anointed, incredible preacher and man of God. And I've learned so much from you and continue to. And so learn from him as well. Your life will be blessed because of it. My love, any final words?
I think you said it all, sweetie. I just want to say, I guess real quick, I'm just honored to be in this company.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you,
We love y'all.
just part of
Thank
the
you.
team. I mean, I'm going to probably cry, but you touched my heart so much. And I'm just so grateful for all of you. We love you guys.
Love you guys.
We're very proud of y'all. Glad to have you be a part of our family.
Thank you.
Well, our hearts are full. We love you guys as
Love
well.
y'all.
You're part of this. You're an extension of this family too. Come and visit the XO Marriage Center here at the marriage capital of the world in South Lake,
Come on.
Texas. We
Right.
would love to have you. We've got a coffee for you waiting over here at XO Press.
right.
And we would love to hang out with you. God bless. We'll see you next time.
Take care.